Very good morning, students. So, here today we are going to start with a very new chapter with you, that is heredity and evolution. Although in our this year's examination we have to only talk about heredity, because evolution it has been deleted from your syllabus for this year, right? So we will talk about heredity till the sex determination. So today is I'm just taking the very introductory part with you. So because it is very important for all of you to first understand the term, understand the terminology which is related with the hereditary, that is the heredity. Many students they find this chapter, I don't know why, little difficult, but I have tried and I will definitely give my best in the form of notes as well as the explanation part, so that every one of you can easily understand the concept behind this chapter, right? Already you people have successfully studied your chapter, that is the how do organisms reproduce. So we will try our best that this chapter will be also very easy for you to learn, right? So let's talk about the heredity term first, because our chapter's name is heredity and evolution. So first let's talk about this term. Heredity means, when I say, the passing of traits from parents or ancestors to offsprings. Now a very major thing I have used in this line, I have used the word parents or ancestors, which means it is related to your biological part, right? It means this is related with your genes part, right? So when we say that passing of traits, or when I say passing of characters, then I it means those characters which are passing from parents to the offsprings, that terminology is known as हेरिडिटी, राइट कि जब आपके कैरेक्टर्स आप में ट्रेड्स जो आपके पेरेंट्स से आ रही हैं, दैट इज नोन एज हेरिडिटी. एंड it plays a very important role in the formation of new species, right? Heredity definitely, because when the parents they pass the characters, there are always a new formation, right, with the changes. So definitely it play a major role in the formation of new offsprings, new species. Now the one major confusion which from so many years I feel that this happens with many students, कि ma'am, what is the difference between heredity and inheritance? They never sometimes able to talk very confidently कि what is heredity, what is inheritance. Today I will give you a very key terms, very thin terms for that you will be able to classify heredity and inheritance. See, inheritance is a very broader term, right? I do not use inheritance only for the genes, right? Inheritance can be, can be passing on the property, when your parents they or your ancestors they have passed on some property to further generation. Some title, you can say that Miss India title, that is always that pass from one year to the next year to then further years. It can be rights, right, that it is my birthright, then that passed on to the son, that passed on to daughter. Then debits, money, right, it is also passed from one generation to the next. So inheritance, it is a broader term. It is not only means that here we are talking about genes, no, but when I will say in the inheritance only, so now here you can say that inheritance can be passing on the property, Inheritance can be passing on your title. Inheritance can be passing on your rights. Inheritance can be passing on your money or debits. Inheritance can be passing on your biological genes. Right. So when I say biological genes, then biological inheritance is, what do you mean by heredity? Right. So heredity, you can say that it is a part of inheritance. So basically, when we talk about ki genes are getting inherited, the terminology which we use, that is heredity. Genetic transmission of traits of characters from parents to offspring is called heredity. But passing on property from the parents, passing on title, rights, other things, that will be known as the simple inheritance. But when we use the word genes, then we will say it heredity, right? And heredity always occurs through inheritance of genes. So inheritance of genes is known as heredity. Am I right or not? Inheritance of genes from one generation to another, it is known as heredity, right? Property is inheritance, title is inheritance, rights are inheritance. But yes, when we saying biological genes, it means that is heredity. Now I'm using the word traits. What are these inherited traits means? Inheritance from the previous generation means from your parents, or then from parents, or from ancestors to the parents, that provide few very common things. They provide a common basic body design, right? We cannot change a design of a puppy. Like a dog always give rise to the puppy which is similar to the shape of a dog. So common basic design is same. Human beings, they give rise to the baby, and baby has two eyes, one nose, two ears, right? One mouth, 2 feet, two hands. So the structure is same, bacha. Common basic body design is same here. But yes, definitely, because two parents are involved, so few changes will definitely occurs in it, which will come into the next generation. So from parents to the offsprings, the generation, or I will say the generation which is getting formed, that will definitely will have few changes. But the common basic body design, that will be the same, right? It never happens that a dog give rise to a structure which looks like a cat. No, a dog gives rise to a structure which is smaller, one is puppy, but ultimately on adult it become the dog only, right? And human beings, they will become child, and finally they will become adult. So the basic design, that is the same, with the few changes in the trait. So these traits, these changes that are there, otherwise the basic design you are inheriting from your parents or from your ancestors. So how to define this inherited trait? So basically a trait, a character, it is a that is which is genetically passed down from one generation to another. Or you can say the trait is the one, characters are the one which are transferred through the genetic transmission or transferred through the genes, right? When we talk about genes, then these are transferred, right? Still, if there is a confusion, let me make it more clear for you, that what do you mean by these inherited traits? Those characters, those features, those characters, those features which you are getting from your parents, that is an inherited trait. That is why I am using the word inherited. Because you have got them through genes. And from where genes are coming into you? From where genes are coming into us? By mother and the father. They are transferring genes in the baby, right? So which are the inherited traits here? Hair color, it can be black, it can be brown, right? Depending on the fusion between the father and mother, which trait is dominant, कौन सी ज़्यादा अपने आप को एक्सप्रेस कर पाती है, दैट वी विल टेक लेटर, डोमिनेंट एंड रिसेसिव. बट येस, फ्रॉम योर पेरेंट्स हेयर कलर इज inherited. Then eye color, there is the black color, there is blue color, there is a brown color. This color is also inherited. See, I'm not here telling you that why you getting brown color, why you are getting black color only. I'm here only telling you the examples of inherited traits, that which traits can be inherited from the parent. Height, that is an inherited trait that depends on your parents, that you got the genes from your parent. Shape of the feet, that is also an inherited property. Earlobes, free, diffused, or you can say attached, that is also inherited property from the parents. So basically those traits which we got from our parents, पेरेंट्स से कैसे आएंगी? थ्रू जीन्स. दोज आर नोन एज इनहेरिटेड ट्रेड्स. दोज आर नोन एज inherited traits, right? So it can be hair color, it can be eye color, it can be height, it can be shape of feet, it can be earlobe. There are so many, but those which you learn from your surroundings, right? There are few characters which you learn from the surroundings, that those are known as acquired traits, right? So traits, they can be of two types: inherited traits and acquired traits. Those traits which we get from our parents, those traits which are genetically passed down from parents to the offsprings, those are known as inherited. Those which are we learning from our environment, which we are learning after birth, those are known as acquired traits, right? Now there is a paragraph in NCERT, the first page. It is given the topic accumulation of variations during reproduction. Every time this topic, this I don't know what is the problem with this topic, but many students, they don't able to understand this, and I am really confused that why, because this is the easiest one. One by one I'm going to explain every word with you. See, accumulation of variations, accumulation का मतलब इकट्ठा होना होता है, right? कुछ चीज़ें जो इकट्ठी होती रहती हैं. And during reproduction, here it means we are talking about the variations, and we are talking about that how they are present in during the reproduction. Now just try to understand each and every point carefully, okay? Pay little attention here. Now reproduction, we know either it is asexual or it is sexual. It results in the production of new characters in the next generation. See, now you will say, ma'am, asexual to almost it is identical. Definitely, asexual means it is the identical, right? But there are very, very, very few changes which still happen at the time of asexual reproduction, right? Very few, very few. But sexual reproduction, because two individuals are involved, so definitely changes, they are large, okay? Now we are saying that reproduction results in the production of new characters in next generation. How these, what do you mean by these new characters? See, few characters which you inherit from your parents, that means common basic body design you inherit from your parents, right? Hair color, eye color, right, feet shape, then earlobe, these all you are getting from your parents. But there are few created differences, right? There are few changes, differences always involved, because your two different individuals are involved, and there is the accumulation of their genes, राइट देयर इट इज़ द एक्यूमुलेशन ऑफ देयर जीन्स. और वो जब एक्यूमुलेशन ऑफ जीन्स जब एक्सप्रेस करती हैं, देन देयर इज़ अ newly created differences. Like I'm just giving a very common example to you. See, this is the original organism, right? This is the original organism, or I will say the earlier organism which was in the nature. Now these organisms, there are the two organisms, both, how do you can both look same basic design, right? These organisms, they have same basic body design. Obviously, as you can see, their basic body design is same, right? But with few differences. There can be some change in the eye color. There can be some change in the, their height. There can be some change in their earlobes, right? There can be some change in their hair color. So there are few changes always. That is the reason you don't look identical to your parents. Do you look identical to your parents? Are you the carbon copy of your parents? No. You look similar. Similar, why? Because that similarity word, that common basic design you got from your parents, but that all designs, they are not exact copy. There are few changes because of the fusion, and because of these changes your features, they also look little different. But yes, 85%, 90% you look similar to your parents. But the moment now they will reproduce further, they will produce, and finally all organisms are different from each other, right? You people are not carbon copy of your grandparents. Either it is your nani or it is your dadi, right? You are different from your grandma and grandpa, right? You are different. You have few changes from your parents. You are different from your brother and sister. So you are not identical. If these changes, they must not be there, अगर कोई चेंज होता ही नहीं तो आपको कभी भी फिर तो then you must be identical to your parents, right? But we never use the word identical, we use word similar. इसका मतलब there are changes happen in your body after from parents to the in the next generation. So organisms, those reproduce asexually, they have very less differences between them. The major reason is, see, single parent is involved, and it will divide, and finally it is dividing, and the daughter cells, they are mostly identical. But that is not the scenario in case of sexual reproduction. In sexual reproduction, more variations. Why the more variations? Because father's genetic makeup, Genetic makeup means I'm talking about here genes of the parents. Father's genes are different, mother's genes are different, and uh, these genes, they are combining through the sexual reproduction, and now when the genes will mix, definitely the offspring which will be produced, that will be different, right? That will be changed one. So that is the actual meaning of variations, because mixing is there, fusion is there, two different genes are involved, so changes are there. So sexual reproduction, this question comes in exam, that why there are more chances of variation in sexual reproduction. See, a very direct reason is because two parents are involved, there is a mixing of two genetic makeups, two different types of genes, so definitely there will be more variation as compared to asexual reproduction. So but how these changes, how these variations are helpful. But before I jump on to the variation with you, first let me talk about the variation word with you very carefully, right? Even although I have asked you this question also, that this question is very important for you to understand. Basically variation का बहुत ही simple meaning होता है the differences in characteristics, right? Or I will say features, right? The differences in characteristic between individuals of same of same species is called variation. See, you and your friend, if I say you and your friend, are you same? No, your features are different, your characteristics are different, but these are what? But you both belong to the same species, Homo sapiens, we all are. So, but there are differences, there are the changes because of the mixing of different genetic makeups, and these changes, this word change, variation is nothing, it is just a changes. This is the differences. These differences are called basically variation, right? Now, this variation is also is it can be through the genes, and when it is through the genes, then we say that it is from the parents to offsprings. But there is the environmental variation also, right? When there are some changes which are due to result of differences in surroundings, right? Due to change in the surroundings, this is called environmental variation. Let's take an example here. See, variation, I wrote a line that variation play a major role in survival of the organisms in extreme conditions. Now, there is a place in which bacteria they were living, right? Many bacteria, they were living in a particular place. Day by day, with the time, the environmental temperature start rising up there, right? But definitely bacteria, they were reproducing, right? Bacteria were reproducing. So but with the change of time, with the time, with the more and more time gone, these environmental temperature was changing. So with this bacteria, there was few bacteria in which heat resistance genes they were developed. Means this bacteria divide, this is the bacteria, this divide, right? This divided into two. then this bacteria further divided. So now there are few changes which will occur. So suppose out of these four, this is the one in which heat resistant genes start developing, right? Because temperature was rising, so genes, they were also changing, although change zyada nahi tha, but with the with the very less change. Day by day, with the generations, more generations, these heat resistant genes, they got fully developed in the bacteria, in few bacteria. Now when the temperature rise so much, only those bacteria which had heat resistant genes, they were able to survive, and others, they died. So it means those bacteria in which changes were there, in which variations were there, they will be able to survive, right? And they will be selected by nature also. They will reproduce further, and now we will get more and more and more bacteria with the heat resistant gene. Is it happening in a one day? Is it happening in a 1 year? Is it happening in a 2 years? No. This is taking many years process, many generations to develop these heat resistant genes. Again, listen to me very carefully. I'm explaining it in Hindi, that की variation क्या है, कि changes वो चेंजेस जो कि ऑर्गेनिजम्स को हेल्प करते हैं सरवाइव करने में, राइट? और ये चेंजेस एक दिन में नहीं आते हैं. इट टेक्स लॉट ऑफ ईयर्स बिकॉज दे पास फ्रॉम वन जनरेशन टू द अदर. नाउ देयर वाज अ प्लेस जिसमें बहुत सारे बैक्टीरिया एक जगह पे रह रहे थे, एंड सडनली दैट इन्वायरमेंटल temperature was rising up. So with the generation more passing on, जैसे ये बैक्टीरिया ने डिवाइड किया, फिर ये बैक्टीरिया डिवाइड किया. So with the generations, few of these bacteria did start in their body, there was the heat resistant gene start developing. If suppose this bacteria, let me make it with green, this bacteria has heat resistant genes, it will divide, it will reproduce, right? Now these two also will have heat resistant genes, they will go further, right? So in this way they will passing on these heat resistant to the further generation. But these purple colored bacteria, they were without heat resistant genes. These purple bacteria, they were without heat resistant genes. Will they survive in high temperature? No. Purple bacteria, they will not be able to survive. Only those which are having heat resistant genes, they will survive. और जब यही सिर्फ पूरी एरिया में बचेंगे तो नेचर इन्हीं को सेलेक्ट करेगी कि मतलब आगे यही जाएंगे, बाकी तो सारे डाइड हो गए, राइट? सो दैट इज़ वाई वी हैव रिटन अ लाइन कि वेरिएशंस जो है इट प्ले अ मेजर रोल इन सर्वाइवल ऑफ ऑर्गेनिजम्स इन एक्सट्रीम कंडीशन. Is a question one which is given in the in-text questions in the NCRT, that what is that means. Question means that if a trait, it exists in 30% of a population of a species, and a trait B exists in 70% of the same population, what do you think which trait is likely to have arisen earlier? See, if we talk about asexual reproduction, usually and most of the time they produce identical copies of their parents, right? They show very many times. Now I have told you that they show very less number of variations. Only the variation, a small variations, if they are observed, that is due to the some mutation. Mutation means a sudden change, अचानक से कुछ चेंज हो जाता है जीन में, तो ड्यू टू दैट सडन चेंज और ड्यू टू द environmental changes, if the change in the environment happens, only then these small changes or very few changes are observed in asexual reproduction. But otherwise they keep on reproducing, right? And these they keep passing their traits from to the one generation to the next generation. So in such species, in the asexual reproducing organisms, a trait, a new trait, I will should I write a new trait, it come into existence due to only sudden mutation, due to sudden change, right? And due to that change, new induced trait which is started then inherited into future generations through the replication, or you can say through the division process with the period of time. But now the question is that we are given with the two percentage. One is the 30% and one is the 70%. Which one has arisen earlier? I think this is very clear that a trait which exists in 30% of the population, it means it is a newly formed trait, right? That is why it is in the less percentage. And trait B, because many times it has been now replicated, right? Many times it from a very longer time it is in the generation, so that is why the percentage is higher. So 30% means the trait has arisen very recently in the species, and 70% means it has arisen earlier. This I don't think that there should be any doubt regarding this question. And other questions which comes in which is asked in examination is what are the variation, which I already explained to you, as well as how do variations they favor the survival of the species. So please try these questions with the full confidence. These are very easier for you now to write them, right? So next topic which I will take in my next lecture, which I will take in my next lecture, that is about, we will talk about a great scientist, that is the Mendel. Till then, all of you